These first ones are from Instagram. What's this guy's name? Darian Vidati asked, how many Purdue titles would it take in the next 20 years for Indiana fans to stop using banners in every argument?
That's a great question. And the next 20, so when does the argument become? I personally think if Purdue wins one, it's on. I think it's because I think for the Indiana point of view. So Purdue has the upper hand on Indiana, not only in Big Ten championships, but in head-to-head wins. Like Purdue has Indiana cleared in a lot of stuff other than the NCAA tournament. Now the Purdue point of view with Indiana's NCAA tournament success is that all of this happened a million years ago. All your banners that you're so proud of are dusty. You haven't made a Final Four since 2002. We don't care about any of that stuff. But then Indiana has the ultimate trump card, which is at least we have them. Dusty banners are better than no banners, right? So I think if Purdue, for me, I honestly think if they win one, and my dad tries to bring that bullshit into conversations where he's like, we got 5, they got 1. I think I got to sit him down and be like, Dad, I don't think you can. I think you got to come at a different angle here. I think if Purdue wins one in the modern era, and Indiana hasn't won one since 1987, I think Purdue's officially on top. Now, if you're an Indiana fan, you take solace in knowing that this is not going to happen. Like it's simply not going to happen for Purdue ever. But in this hypothetical, I think it takes one. Is that too? Do you think they have to? I don't think they have to pass them, TJ. I don't think they have to get 6. I think if Purdue gets 1, now if like Indiana goes to a few Final Fours, Indiana rattles off like the next 20 years, Indiana has Gonzaga's last 20 years. Where they're ranked, not even last 20 years. They have like a Gonzaga type run where they make a couple Final Fours. They're ranked number 1. They're winning games all the time. They're getting recruits. And then Purdue wins one. Like I think that might make it a little different. But if Indiana continues to like flame out in Sweet 16s and never actually makes a Final Four, and then Purdue wins a national championship,
I think it's fairly similar to like the Yankees Red Sox rivalry argument. So it was like the Yankees would flaunt at the time 26 rings over and over again, which I don't love personally as a Yankees fan, especially the way the last 15 years have gone. And then the Red Sox won in 04, and then the Red Sox won in 07, and then obviously the Red Sox won in 2018, and they got another one before that. Like, so the Red Sox now clearly have the upper hand in the grand scheme of things because they've dominated this millennium from the Yankees.
Right.
I think it's just more so. I don't think like they are dusty banners, much like 80% of the Yankees rings are from like the dead ball era, and that's like an issue. And so I think, yeah, like you're saying, if Purdue takes 1, then they have 1 in the last 1 year, and Purdue does, or Indiana has 0 in the last 30, 35, 40?
Yeah, 36.
So I think, yeah,
37. It would be 37. If Purdue wins it next year, Indiana would have no titles in the last 37 years.
I think if you win 1, and then like you said, you have the head-to-head matchups too. Like, there's not much Indiana can say. Like, yeah, you can like brag about your old banners, but what percentage of the fan base even saw those championships happen?
I think it boils down to this, TJ. I think arguments between fan bases to determine who has the upper hand in a rivalry, I really do think it's the who's more mad test. Like if they're just arguing with each other, who's going to come across as more triggered and more upset and more mad? And right now, Indiana fans are less mad. Like when they argue with Purdue fans, even if Purdue is number 1 in the country and Zach Edey wins National Player of the Year, and all especially now that Indiana swept them last year. But I really do think that Indiana fans are calm, cool, and collected. If IU fans and Purdue fans are arguing about who has a better program, I think Purdue fans get more worked up. They get more triggered. They're the ones that are like, yeah, and IU fans are like throwing their sunglasses on, throwing up peace signs, and they're like, banners, bitch, and then they speed away, and that's how they're handling it. I think if Purdue wins the title this year, that gets flipped on its head. And I think Indiana fans are extremely triggered, and they spend a lot of energy and time explaining to you how they're not actually triggered. I think that's what, and Purdue fans are just basking in the glory of being national champs. I think it's 1. I think it's 1 national championship, and Purdue has the upper hand.
Yep. And I think that it's still pretty close, even without the championships. But obviously, the championships is Banners fly forever, as they say. Sam on Instagram asked, "Hey Mark, what are your thoughts on having the top 2 or 3 university teams from Canada get a bid into the NCAA tournament? I think a team like Carleton/Ottawa could give a team a run for their money as a 7 or 11 seed."
I actually love this idea. I'm trying to think of how it could realistically happen. I think with the NCAA, so on the one hand, we're going to need the NCAA to dissolve. We got to get the NCAA out of here. Because it's in the name. It's right there in the name. It's National Collegiate Athletic Association, and we can't have
Just change it to an I.
Yeah, but I guess the NBA has Canadian teams. They're the National Basketball Association, so I don't. There's no world where like the NCAA is going to let Canadian teams get into the mix. So it's going to have to be like sort of an independent type deal where the schools are kind of. It's more of the Wild West. Now, the issue there is that when the NCAA does dissolve and break up, the power vacuum is not going to exist for more than 4 seconds. And the SEC and the Big Ten are both going to swoop in and gobble up all the power and like consolidate. And maybe they each make their own 2 leagues. And, like it's not, there's not a world where I actually think in that situation, the chances of getting Canadian teams playing American teams is actually worse than it is now. So, I don't think this is realistically possible, unfortunately. I don't see how it's realistically possible in terms of like it's possible in terms of logistics. It's definitely possible in that regard. Like of course to have the Canadian teams fly to the sites and play, that's possible. It all checks out there. I don't see a world where like the American teams are going to go for it. But as a fan, I would freaking love it. Yeah, because that's we're closing in pretty soon. We're gonna be getting off season. It's international tour season, TJ, and that's when the college basketball teams go on these trips. And the Carleton Ravens, I believe, are the team that always beats somebody from America, and then that's always like a headline in like August that pops up in college basketball circles is that some college basketball team we thought might be decent just lost to a Canadian team. Uh-oh, are they in trouble? And it always gets my attention. I'm always I eyeball emoji that. I'm like, huh, wow, how about that? So I would love to see it happen. I don't think it will, but how can we fix that? I don't know.
What would the big hang up be with having like a 6-team, like the way the Ivy League is set up, but have a bunch of Canadian teams enter the NCAA?
Just get one conference, like let the Canadian champion get in.
Yeah, you don't think that the NCAA would ever consider having like a group of Canadian teams be under their legislation? I feel like that's not the craziest thing I've ever heard.
No, that's what I think. I think that has a far higher likelihood than, fast forward 20 years, 25 years from now, and the NCAA is dead, but now the SEC has 35 teams and the Big Ten has 35 teams. And they both run their own. They're both like the de facto NCAAs on their own. It's it's like an American League, National League type deal with baseball 100 years ago, or an ABA NBA situation. That's what the. I don't think like the SEC or the Big Ten are letting. If they throw their big national tournament, they're not letting the Canadian teams in. Whereas I think that it's far more likely the NCAA does. It could happen. I just don't think it would. I don't think there's any incentive for the NCAA.
Yeah.
I don't think there's. I
don't the game.
But I would love to see it. They should get their own conference. Like let one Canadian team. Because but then national champion, how do you deal with that? Like you say, this team was the national champion,
world champion,
the North America. You just call it world. It's just immediately. That's sick. That is sick. That's cooler than national champion. Being able to say you're world champion.
Yeah.
I think
Connecticut Huskies.
I see it. It's gonna work this way, TJ. Let the Canadian national champion play the American national champion in a one-off exhibition. That Ryan Reynolds, he's dual citizen, right? And he's throwing his money around in sports right now. Let the Ryan Reynolds Invitational, where the Canadian champion plays the American champion, and he puts like an insane amount of his own money on the line for the winner. Let's do it that way. I think
that would probably go over well for the Canadian team. How many years would it take before a Canadian team wins this year's UConn team?
No, maybe the UConn guys are getting ready for the draft though. Maybe you kept like that. Maybe they're like, maybe they opt out. Maybe they're like,
you do it the day after that. You do it during this week.
Yeah, do it the day after the draft. Yeah,
The college basketball world championship.
Yeah, how about that?
But none of the college players that got drafted are allowed to play because they don't have eligibility anymore.
What else? Are there any more? Is that it? Or do we just get two?
Somebody asked thoughts on college basketball in the state of Illinois now that you're moving there, more specifically in Chicago.
This is just gut reaction on hierarchy of Illinois programs. Illinois is number one. Illinois, Brett Underwood has rejuvenated the program. The fans are annoying as shit, and that's a good thing. I think that they still need to prove it a little bit. I think there's still like I don't think the success is quite caught up with the swagger and the bravado that Illinois has. But the fact that Illinois basketball has some bravado is good, and I like that because Illinois is a program that mattered for most of my life, and it's exciting to see the fans be excited, even though they are annoying as hell. They're annoying. Are they the most annoying fans in the Big Ten, would you say?
Illinois?
Maryland's up there, I guess, but Maryland almost doesn't count because they're not Big Ten, and they know it.
I think Michigan State is for football, I think.
Michigan
and
State
basketball fans
football
are fairly annoying, but they haven't had a ton to stand on.
Michigan State football is a good one. Illinois, as far as basketball, Illinois basketball is. I feel like a lot of people might say Indiana, but
yeah, I would say Indiana, but we own Indiana, so it's hard to say them.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Michigan State is.
We own Purdue too.
I don't think Wisconsin basketball fans are that annoying, honestly.
No,
I don't have a problem with them.
Yeah, Illinois probably has it then.
Michigan State, like I don't.
Penn State doesn't have basketball fans.
I don't have a problem with Michigan State fans because they're good. They're like the one, we talked about that when Izzo was doing some Izzo magic in this March. Like they're the one program in the Big Ten that has any shot at actually winning a national championship. So
yeah,
if you're cocky as a Michigan State basketball fan, I mean, like, what am I gonna say? I'm like,
right.
Yeah, you're kind of right.
Michigan.
Yeah, but Michigan fans have turned on Juwan Howard. They're kind of winning me over now. I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot more when Juwan Howard struck a man, and I got to play I got the moral high ground where I was like, "You're a scumbag university for employing this coach," and yeah. And now I think they've caught up where they're like, "Why are we employing this coach?" Like the NBA draft happens, and Michigan gets 2 first-round picks. They have Hunter Dickinson on the team. Like last year, they had 2 first-round picks and a first-team All-American, and they were that bad.
Michigan fans are so annoying because they're like they have a holier-than-thou attitude, and there's so many of them on the East Coast. It's insane. Anytime, like, if something's going on at MSG that's Big Ten related, or like they visit for every sport. Like I used to work cameras for live sporting events in college. It was like a Thursday night softball game at Rutgers, women's softball. And there was probably 25 Rutgers fans there, mostly families of the players, I'm sure. There was 200 Michigan fans there on a Thursday at our softball facility, which doesn't have bleachers. So they brought their own chairs and stuff. They did like an on-field autograph signing after the game with merch sales. Michigan's fan base is insane, and they're so annoying because
this is what I try to tell people when the Ohio State-Michigan football game comes around, and they're like, I hate both of those schools. And listen, I'm not here to tell you should like Ohio State. I'm not here to make any excuses for our fan base. Our fan base can stink. If you go to a game in the shoe wearing the wrong colors, it can be a miserable experience. I understand all of these things. Ohio State fans can be extremely, extremely annoying. I'll just say this, TJ. Michigan fans are not your friends. Like if don't get it twisted. That in a battle of 2 fan bases that a neutral observer hates equally, just know this, that one of the fan bases doesn't completely despise your existence in the way that Michigan fans do. They do not look down your nose at you, Like one fan base will shotgun beers with you in the parking lot, and the other one will look at you and be like, get a job. Like, why are you not... you would never be able to intern at my dad's law firm. Like that's what they say is the Ohio State fans are annoying, but at least we're salt of the earth people, TJ. Where at least we're like, we can be a good hang in the right circumstances. Michigan fans are just, and but as far as basketball goes, like I think Juwan Howard stinking up the joint paired with Michigan football actually beating Ohio State and making the playoff and winning the Big Ten in the last couple of years. I think Michigan basketball fans are actually very palatable these days. I think, and that kind of pisses me off because there was a stretch where I did hate Michigan basketball, but I think they're kind of humbled now and they're just like, yeah, our coach stinks, we want him fired, and we're a football school anyway, and that's frustrating.
I like that this whole rant is the question was, what do you think of college basketball teams in Illinois?
I completely forgot we were going to ask a question. Loyola's in trouble right now. I think DePaul. I got to get a lay of the land. Chicago State didn't hire me. I was bitter about it for a while. I let bygones be bygones, and I would like to see Chicago be state again. I would love to make Chicago state again and do what I can to help. I think if I can, you know what I'm going to do. But that's not going to answer the question. Let me answer the question first, then I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Illinois is the only school in Illinois State. Ryan Pedon's the coach there. He's former Ohio State assistant. He just got hired I think this will be his second year. Yeah, he's about to enter his second year. So maybe I'll go down to where's Illinois State? Is that Bloomington? That's Normal. It's Normal, Illinois, I believe. Is that Normal? What's Bloomington? Dude, I'm going to be an Illinois resident? Is that true?
Normal.
Is Chicago in Illinois? Is that true?
I can look it up.
Let me fact check that. Northwestern, I'll say this, has gotten to a point where they it's no longer embarrassing to lose to Northwestern. So that's good. But like Northwestern still has some work to do in terms of like actually getting a seat at the table, at the big boy table, and feeling like they belong at the adult table. But now, like when you lose to Northwestern, it's no longer embarrassing. It happens, But I don't. Northwestern basketball still doesn't do it for me, and I think that's probably just like ingrained in my brain from so many years of watching Big Ten basketball. And like honestly, they probably deserve more respect than I'm giving them, but I can't do it. I see Northwestern basketball and I just kind of laugh to myself. But if teams do lose Northwestern, I no longer feel the urge to clown them.
Yep.
So there you go. Did I answer the question? What I was going to say is, speaking of Illinois and sports in Illinois, I'm going to personally guarantee on this show right now, TJ, that within 3 years, 5 years, strike that, 5 years, maybe 6 years, I got to work on the time frame. I'm going to personally guarantee a championship for the city of Chicago professional team. I'm going to personally guarantee that the Chicago Bears, the Chicago Bulls, the Chicago Cubs, the Chicago Blackhawks, or the Chicago White Sox will win. Is that all of them? Will win.
Sky?
Chicago Sky. Throw them in there. Chicago Fire. MLS Cup champion. I will personally... Chicago sports, they're in a rough spot right now. But I'm personally going to guarantee that there will be a championship won. This happened when I moved to LA. The Lakers hadn't won in a while. The Dodgers hadn't won in forever. I moved out here and bingo, bango, bongo. The Rams come back. They win a title. Like LA went on a little run there. I'm bringing good vibes to the city of Chicago, and I will personally deliver a championship within 5 years. That's my guarantee. I don't know who it's going to be, but within 5 years, one of those franchises is going to win a title, and I'll be at the parade. And I should be at the parade with the team. I'm not going to ask for that, but it'll happen. We're going to win a title. Chicago is going to be title town. That's a guarantee.
What do you think the most likely team of that group is to win one?
Probably the Blackhawks, right? Aren't they getting the number one pick?
Yeah,
Isn't
but
that guy's supposed to be good?
He's supposed to be generational. I don't really know how hockey works if one guy can really turn a whole franchise around like that. The Oilers are good now.
How many generational players can exist in one generation?
Well, they're all generational prospects.
Oh my god!
Only one of them gets to be the generational player.
The recruiting services are about to go from stars to like generations. It's gonna be like he's
0.5 out of one generation.
Yeah, he's a 0.5 out of one generation. Yeah. Most likely to do it. It's Justin Fields and the Bears, I think.
Yeah, so I don't think the Bears are that many moves away. And it sounds hilarious to say, but I think if they get a new stadium, which is easy,
yeah,
and then they'll start getting better players there.
Jokes aside, like I obviously I think Justin Fields is better than the average football fan does because I'm obviously biased with the Ohio State connection, but football does feel like it's not that difficult to turn stuff around. You can go from shitty to because the parity that exists in the NFL. You do have to hit on the quarterback. So like if Justin Fields does in fact stink, that's going to be tough. But like it's a little easier to. I mean, for God's sakes, the Bengals are in the Super Bowl.
Right. I don't think Justin Fields stinks either. I think he's awesome.
If you would have said that about the Bengals 5 years before they made the Super Bowl, everyone would have laughed just as much as they're laughing hearing you and I say the Bears.
Right.
And then 5 years later, they were playing the Super Bowl. So, maybe the Bears, yeah, or one of the. It could be one of the baseball teams because baseball, it's like you just get in the playoffs and let shit happen. You get some wild shit that happens in the playoffs. The best.
Yeah, this year's going to be wild in baseball. There's going to be a lot of teams in baseball this year that haven't been in the playoffs in a long time that have a chance at it. Angels, Diamondbacks are all right. Cubs are back.
Yeah,
there's a lot of sneaky teams this year.
Yeah, baseball
Reds
does feel
have won a bunch of games in a row.
How many of those San Francisco Giants World Series were they actually the best team?
I don't think
0.
Maybe the last one they were, but they definitely snuck up. I think they went last to first at least once.
Are the Cardinals ever the best team when they win it? They just always why can't the Sox or Cubs do that? Where they're just they just kind of get
those
it.
Giants teams might have been my favorite non-Yankees baseball teams ever. I had remember their closer Brian Wilson, the guy with the big jet black beard.
Yeah,
I dressed as him for Halloween. One of the years that they won it. I love that guy. He fell off the face of the earth. That was my favorite baseball player.
Baseball needs if you want to quote unquote save baseball, I think we need to get back to some insane closers. Do we have insane closers still?
Yeah, because we had Papelbon back then was a maniac.
Papelbon was a maniac.
It's just the NBA benefits off of tomfoolery more than any other sport right now.
Yeah,
there's so much tomfoolery in the NBA. We need some of that injected into baseball to get people to watch.
And it's weird because baseball and hockey, they have some of the dumbest human beings on earth playing those two sports, where they are just a constant fountain of tomfoolery. That is all that it, if you actually are in a baseball or hockey locker room, it's just constant chaos of that should be leaking more. We should be hearing about the off field and off ice shit more often, but I don't know. They don't do that. John Rocker's the OG insane closer, by the way. That's who Kenny Powers was apparently based on. Was
makes sense.
John Rocker, who was that guy.